To make your first million, you have to start somewhere. And making your first 10,000 is a great place to start. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to go from $0 to $10,000. I'm Arlan Hamilton. I built a multi-million-dollar venture capital firm. I've invested in more than 200 companies led by women, people of color, and LGBTQ+ founders. And in the last decade, I've helped so many companies get to their first million and beyond. I want to help you do the same. Let's get started on your business. Step 1, core belief. In order for you to make $10,000, $1 million, any amount of money, you have to believe that you can. You have to understand why you can. You have to understand that you can and believe that you can. I believe that you can. I believe that almost everyone watching this can make their first $10,000, make their first million. So having that internally is so important to get started. A lot of it has to do with self-worth, the idea that you deserve to have your first million. Sometimes when I'm on my book tour, which I've been on for weeks, I will ask the audience, how many people here think that they deserve to have $1 million? And only half of the audience will raise their hands. And I'll ask, why did some of you not raise their hands? And people will yell out, I'll ask them for feedback, and they'll say things like, I don't think anyone should have that much money, or I don't know anyone with $1 million. How can I be the first person in my group, in my orbit, to have the million? And so many people are held back by this limiting belief. You watch these videos, you start a company, you want better for yourself. You want to get out of the rut you're in, but you don't want to shoot for the stars. You just want enough. You just want what other people think you should have. I don't think you should limit yourself to that. So this idea of self-worth, that you deserve happiness, you deserve success, you deserve to make your first million. On this quest here for your first 10,000, we're going to talk about very immediate objectives and also long-term goals. So one immediate objective is to actually make $1,000 in the next 7 days. That's something that's tangible, that's something that we're going to aim for, and that'll get us to the 10,000. Then thinking through your longer term goals, for us, let's make that the first million. Is that going to take us a year, 2 years, 5 years? I don't know how long it will take you. It took me a long time. It took me years and years. But once I got there, things got really interesting. And all along the journey, once I understood how to unlock financial freedom, things have been so compelling and such an interesting, challenging journey. And having that long-term view of, why do I want this? Like, what do I want? Why do I want it? When do I want it to happen? So important. Sometimes we'll say, oh, I want to make $1 million, but we won't say a time period. Maybe we don't want to be disappointed if it doesn't happen. Maybe we don't know how long it takes to do that. But I want you to challenge yourself to give yourself a time period. I want to make $1,000 in 7 days. The next 7 days, a week from now, I want to leave a comment on this video after I subscribed, of course. And I want to tell Arlan, tell me that you did your first 1,000. Can you challenge yourself to that? Step 2 is to think about debt. Now, in 7 days, you're not going to get out of debt. That's not going to happen most likely. But I want you to start thinking about it. In order for us to start at 0, we talk about starting at scratch, you kind of have to not be negative. So let me tell you, I know a ton about debt. In fact, I know about it today. I know what debt is, but it was that debt that was hanging over me like a cloud when I started Backstage Capital, when I started on my journey. I was 35 years old and I had so much debt. You may have debt from school. You may have debt from credit cards. You may have tried to take out loans and have all kinds of like Band-Aid fixes. I understand what that's like, and I understand what that feels like. Let me just tell you something. Let me tell you a secret that I learned from millionaires. You're going to take on more debt than you ever imagined. Debt is actually something that can be used in a positive way as leverage. But for now, what you want to do is get yourself out of personal debt so that you can start at 0, so that you can start with a clean slate. There is a book by Tiffany the Budgetnista, where she talks about getting out of debt. There is a book by Jamila Souffrant, where she talks about getting out of 6 figures of debt with her husband. You want to get both of these books, download them, read them, because they're going to help you so much over the next few weeks. Step 3, what is your unique advantage? We call it an unfair advantage, which kind of sounds bad, but it's actually a really good thing. What's something about you that's an unfair advantage that gives you a leg up? There's so many times where we feel like we are held back by certain things in our life. Let's flip that. What's something that your experience, your talent, your skill, your willingness to do, the people you know, even if they're not celebrities or rich people, what's something that if you spent a few minutes or a few hours writing down, thinking through, you could find your unique advantage? One of mine, especially when I don't have like the capital, is that I can communicate really well. I used to have ridiculous, debilitating stage fright until I was 30, almost 37. So I couldn't spread my message that way. I do that now. I get paid to do it most times. But even then, when I couldn't speak on big stages, I could write, or I could go on video, or I could do audio, or I could type out on social. I could communicate. And I used my ability to communicate to then build community, to build a world where people wanted to be part of something. Even as recently as my event, Your First Million Live, that happened in LA, 2,000 people came to it from all over the world. People said their biggest takeaway was the people in the room. Like, people on stage were cool, and the venue was awesome, and the music was great, but it was the people who were attending that was like the biggest takeaway for most people that I'm hearing from. And that's because of years and years and years of me cultivating that ambiance, that community, that came through communication. So that was my unfair advantage early. It's still my unfair advantage. It's still something that helps me in rooms with millionaires and billionaires, because a lot of millionaires and a lot of billionaires cannot adequately express themselves. Isn't that interesting? They can't do that. So when I was learning all of this information years ago, I did what I call becoming money. I became money. I put the information in my head. I could control how much I learned every day. I then took that information and I used it to exchange with someone, with an investor, for capital to start my fund, because I had the information she wanted and needed, and she had the capital that I wanted and needed. We exchanged that. And then I exchanged my information for money because it was already money. So all of these things, thinking through life in these ways, communicating a certain way, having these phrases, be yourself, so the people looking for you can find you. That's a phrase that I came up with. Be the money. There's so many more. The way that I communicate, the way that I'm talking to you right now, all of this is part of that. What is your unfair advantage? What do you do really well? What do you love doing? What do people compliment you on? What do people ask you to do for them, help them with? And then what does the market bear? What is something that you can monetize? This is where you're going to start to figure out this first 1,000, this first 10,000. Step number 4 is we're going to find our focus. There are a million things that you could be doing. There's so many opportunities for you, especially today. You're going to think about one of them, because if you try to do 5, 6 things, even 2 things, you're only going to do them half as well if it's 2. And you're going to split 100% of yourself into these parts. But if you focus on one and you stay the course and you do it well and you learn from it, you iterate, you change what you need to change as you go along, it gets better and better and better and better, and you focus, you have a chance of reaching your first $10,000. Danielle Leslie, I interviewed her several months ago, and she talked to me about her first million through teaching courses, right? She said that for, I think it was like 16 months, she would do a webinar once a week, every single week, without fail, no matter how many people were on the webinar, no matter how many sales she made. And she did that for so long. And over 16 months, she made some pretty good money. She made a few $1,000s. Then there was this inflection point that hit, and she started making 6-figure days because she was so focused. She couldn't have done that in month 1 because month 7, 9, 15, had the lessons learned. She also got better at her pitch. She also got better at her communication. She also got her processes better. All of that happened because of focus. And she wasn't over here and over there and everywhere. Now you might say, well, Arlan, I heard that you have more than one company. You're an entrepreneur, you're an investor, you're a speaker, author. You're right. You're absolutely correct. But I was not that for 7 years. For 7 years, from 2015 on, I worked day and night and day on Backstage Capital. And what did that get me? 200 plus investments, 30 investments in funds, other people's funds. Got me on the cover of Fast Company. It got me on the cover of Black Enterprise. It got so much more. And then I started to branch out and say, now let me start a fractional recruiting company that is very helpful to our portfolio. Now let me start this company or inspire this company or work with these founders. That's when you can start to branch out. But first, focus. To make the first $1,000 in the next 7 days, you're going to focus on this framework that I teach, which is teach, show, do. Teach. You could literally create a course. I love using teachable.com. I will put a link in the description for my page on Teachable. I love Teachable because it's easy to use. I have dozens of courses on Teachable. I have 2 academies. I have signature courses and free courses, and it runs the gamut. So you can teach something. If you want to learn more about that, look at the Danielle Leslie interview that I did and the Amy Porterfield video that I did. Show. What do I mean by that? Well, you can take what you're teaching and actually show someone one-on-one or in a group setting how to do what you taught them about. So in the teacher, kind of introducing them to the concept and letting them know why they need this thing, why they need to learn it, what it is. And in the show, it's more intimate, it's more one-on-one, or it's more like in a small group setting where they're not just watching a video of you, you're actually maybe on a Zoom and they paid you to be on that consulting call. You're maybe their coach. Maybe you're working with them for a day or for a year, but you have something where you're working with them. You're doing a mastermind with them. All sorts of ways that you could show. And in this first 1,000, what I would do, let me tell you what I would do right now if I was trying to make $1,000 quick, 7 days. I would choose the show because you have teach, that would be great. If I could spin up a $50 course and sell 20 of those, I would do that too. But the show is kind of cool. I would say, what am I good at? And what does someone else need? Then I would decide on that. I would go to Zoom. I would set it up and link it to PayPal or link it to Stripe. Then I would go on social and I would go into my own pocket and pull out names. And I'm talking about when I'm broke. I'm not talking about like me today. I'm talking about me 10 years ago. I'd pull out my phone if I had the technology we have today, and I would say for $100, for $200, for $300, I will jump on a Zoom with you for 30 minutes or an hour, and I will consult with you. I actually did this back in the day. I did this with phone calls. So I used to have this blog that had 50,000 people who looked at it every single month, and that was awesome. So I would do these calls, these consulting calls for $30 an hour or half an hour, $30 for half an hour, and I'd tell people how to build their blogs. And anytime I was like really desperate for money, which is a lot of time, I would do this and people would pay me because I would give them more value than what they were handing me. That's the important part. Like, you're giving them value. Why would you hold that back from people? If they don't want to buy that from you, they won't. Trust them, they won't. But there are people right now who really want what you have and they need help and you have the help to give them and you want to exchange that fair value. So that's what I would do. I'd say, can I get 5 phone calls in the next 7 days that cost $200 each? And I give them $2,000 worth of value. I give them everything I have, help them with whatever I can in that hour, and get the first 1,000. Then the third way is do. And that one is actually quite lucrative if you do it right. Sometimes people learn from you on the teach. They learn from you on the consulting and in the show, but they don't have time to do the thing you're teaching them. So they may just come to you and say, hey, can you do this for me? Instead of you teaching me how to spin up a website that has the best funnel and the best ... can you just make it for me? I have spent so much money on all 3. I have spent so much money on courses. To this day, I will buy a course like it's my job, because it kind of is. I'll buy a course. I'm always learning. I love to learn. I love to learn from courses online. So I'll buy a course almost every weekend. Then on the show, I have spent so much money on conferences. That's another version of show. If you want to check out my new events course, check the link below, because that will blow your mind if you're thinking about, how do I put on an event? Let me show you. I put on a 2,000 person event in LA this year, and this course will take you from not knowing anything about putting on an event to starting your own event, launching it within days. Anyway, I digress. Then I spent a lot of money on these, like I said, events, consulting one-on-one. I will go to masterminds. I will have people coach me. I will do VIP days with people. There are people you can pay who, like, you admire. You pay them enough money, they will spend a day with you and just tell you everything they know, and they'll tell you how to do it. It's like one of the best hacks I've ever found. It's absolutely amazing. So a lot of times when I do a launch, I'm launching so I can earn enough money to pay someone who has made millions of dollars doing one thing, to pay them for a day of their time to teach me how to do that. It's the best investment. But on the do side, I've spent the most, because I understand that time is money. So if you can do something for me that saves me time and I don't have to figure all of this out on my own, you better believe I'm going to find a way to pay you. You can become invaluable in this way. So are you going to teach? Are you going to show? Or are you going to do? Select one and then go for it. Get that first 1,000 and then get that first 10,000. To get to your first 10,000, there's a step 6 that's pretty important. You're going to make 3 key decisions. We're making these decisions because you have to ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? Is this something I want to continue? Is it sustainable? First question you're going to ask yourself is simply, do I keep going or do I stop? Is this working? Is this something I'm enjoying? Is it good to do? Like, should I keep going? Or do I need to pivot, rethink this? The second question you have to ask yourself, if you decide to keep going, is, am I a salesperson and a visionary, or am I a builder? Now, sometimes this can be the same person. Very, very cool when it is. But lots of times it's not. It's 2 separate people. And one of the people finds the other person to make it work. For instance, I'm like a vision person. I don't like to call myself a visionary. I think it's very pompous. But I have vision, and I also like to market and sell, and I like to bring people in and create that community. But I am not the best at building out systems that execute. So what I like to do is I like to have these bold, ambitious, moonshot ideas that go way beyond most people that I know. And I step out on faith. I take the risk for almost everyone involved. And I say, yes, we're going to do this. Then I find the people who I think can make the vision happen. And I don't have an ego that says, oh, I have to do everything because I'm so great at everything. I'm not. I'm really, really good at launching and really, really good at bringing people together. So which one are you? Are you sales or build, or both? The third decision you have to make is this a company or a kind of a feature, right? Is it a full-fledged company where you need to incorporate and you need to put systems and process? Or is this something that you do on the side that is just every once in a while you'll kind of launch this thing, or you have this course in the background? Now, don't let this be accounting or tax advice. Sometimes you have to really think about that no matter what you consider it. So talk to Revel CPA, revelcpa.com/Arlan to learn more about if your company is a company or not. Step 7 is decide who your audience is. Who is your customer? Who is that avatar? You've probably heard this word before. It's like Avatar, you know, the movie, but it's like really like, who is the person who's buying from you? The demographics are important, but the psychographics are even more important. You know, what do they like? What do they feel? What are their opinions? Those types of things. You can look up psychographics to learn more about that. But you're pretty much just putting together, like you're creating a person. And you're saying, who is this ideal customer of mine? For me, for instance, my ideal customer is a woman of color who is 35 to 55 years old and is some sort of executive or someone who's starting a company or has a company, and they're successful. and they feel like they have not completely reached their potential. There's something missing in their life. There's some direction or inspiration that's missing, and they want to make a big impact on the world. That's my main customer. You may be watching this and saying, that's me. Oh my God, how did she know? Or you may be watching this and saying, that is not me. She got it wrong. Didn't get it wrong necessarily. You have a core customer, and then you have, of course, people outside the core. There are layers to it. So you're going to have women across the board. You may have women then of all ages. Then you may have men of color. Then you may have, dot. And certainly there are white men in my audience. There are people from all over the world in my audience. The point of it is, who is that person that you're talking to right now, right in this moment? I have an avatar in my mind of who I'm talking to. It is really difficult to talk into a camera by yourself. It's not the easiest, naturalist thing in the world. But the way I do it is I think of this particular woman that I want to win. I want her to win. And so I'm having this conversation with you and I'm saying, I hope she hears this. I know what she might feel if she hears this. That's what you should do next. Who is that person for you? This is one of the most fun, fulfilling, exciting parts of the whole journey. The next step is you're going to create an offer. You can't just say, well, I have this customer and I have this product and I'm just going to hope that they buy it at this price. You could, but it's not going to take you very far. You want to be very specific with your offer. You want to let people know the value of it. So you also want to have a container for this. Is it a website? Is it a landing page? There's so many different tools you can use. Look them up. There's like websites. You can have like a Shopify, or you can have card with 2 R's, CARRD. There's some great landing pages there. Where are you going to house this? Is it going to be a Stripe link? Where is the money going, right? But then your offer is, what is the value you're offering? What is the specific deliverables that you're giving to somebody? Are they getting a phone call with you? Are they getting PDFs? Are they getting a list? Are they getting SaaS, software as a service, some sort of tech? What are they getting from you? Create this offer very specifically. Look at other people's examples. Think about something you purchased recently. What did that landing page look like? What did they say to you? Did they have a video? Did you find them on social? Did they have a form to fill out? Did they have testimonials? Probably. If you want to think about offers, Alex Hormozi has a great book called $100 Million Offers. Check out his offers book. You can pick it up anywhere or listen to the audio, which is what I did. But you want to get your offer set. Before we get to the final step, to you making your first $10,000. I want to remind you that if you want more information like this, where I'm telling you how you can make your first million, you have to subscribe. If you don't subscribe, you won't be alerted to my next video, and you won't know that I'm giving you this information week after week after week. Check back here. You can also go to yourfirstmillion.tv anytime to go through all of the videos that I have, pick up the knowledge, and then implement it. Okay, the final step to your first 10,000. You're gonna sell, baby. You're gonna sell. Even if you're not a salesperson, you're gonna sell. And by the way, earlier I said you can either be a salesperson or a builder. Learn to sell no matter what. Gary Vaynerchuk said to me at Your First Million Live that if you're great at sales, that means you're bad at marketing. Think about that. It's something to think about. But first, get good at sales too. The most successful people I know how to sell. And maybe they didn't at first, but they taught themselves. They figured it out in their own way. Does not mean you have to be cringe or a used car salesperson. Doesn't mean you have to be slimy or desperate. I say stay hungry, not thirsty. But you have to know how to communicate to your potential customers. It's a thing that is going to make sure that you are never homeless like I was 10 years ago. You don't want to be in the position where you can't do anything for yourself. Sales get you out of that position. It's done that for me, and it does not have to be slimy. So you're going to learn that, and you're going to go out there and you're just going to try. You're going to make your offer, whether it's through an email list that you're building, social, your friends, your contacts, somebody you used to work for, somebody you work for now. Be careful there though. You're going to make your first sale. And when you make your first sale, know this, you can do anything if you can sell. If this inspired you and you're thinking, I love this, I made my first 1,000, I'm going to make my first 10,000, I actually should quit my job. Before you quit your day job, watch my video where I tell you if and when you should quit your day job to follow your passion and your side hustle.